The silence in my apartment has become a living thing, pressing against my chest with familiar weight as I stare at the half-finished logo design glowing on my laptop screen. 3 months. It's been 3 months since Arya walked out of our shared life with nothing more than "I need space to figure things out," leaving behind only the faint scent of her lavender shampoo on the pillowcase I still haven't washed. Drop a comment if you've ever felt that instant spark with someone unexpected, because sometimes the heart surprises us when we least expect it. I closed the laptop with more force than necessary, the sharp click echoing through the living room that once buzzed with our laughter, our arguments, our lazy Sunday mornings tangled together on this very couch. Now it's just me, surrounded by the ghost of what we used to be. The throw pillows are arranged too perfectly, the coffee table cleared of Arya's scattered art supplies and half-read novels. Everything in its place, everything sterile and lonely. My phone buzzes with a text from my sister. "Girls' night Friday? Sarah's making margaritas." I stare at the message, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. I should say yes. I should force myself back into the world of casual friendships and surface-level conversations about work and weekend plans. Instead, I type back, "Rain check?" Swamped with deadlines. The lie comes easily now, a practiced deflection that's become my default response to most invitations. The truth is, I've become the friend everyone calls when they need someone to listen, someone to absorb their problems and offer gentle advice, but I'm never the one they think to include in their celebrations. I'm the emotional support friend, the one who shows up with tissues and wine when relationships implode, but somehow I've become invisible when it comes to joy. Maybe that's what happens when you're the lesbian friend in a group of straight women. You become the safe confidant, the one who won't judge their messy romantic choices because your own love life exists in a different universe entirely. I wander to the kitchen and pour myself a glass of the expensive wine Arya left behind, the bottle we were saving for a special occasion that never came. The first sip tastes like regret and wasted possibilities. Through the window, I can see couples walking hand in hand down the tree-lined street, their easy intimacy a reminder of what I've lost. Not just Arya, but the simple comfort of being known, of having someone who understood my moods and quirks, who knew exactly how I liked my coffee and which side of the bed I preferred. The apartment feels too quiet, too empty, so I scroll through my phone, past Instagram photos of friends at dinner parties I wasn't invited to, past LinkedIn updates about promotions and new jobs, past the dating apps I downloaded and deleted 3 times in the past month. Each swipe feels like a small defeat, a reminder that I'm not ready to put myself back out there, not ready to explain my baggage to someone new. I pause on a photo from 2 years ago, Arya and me at the farmer's market, her arm around my waist, both of us laughing at something I can't remember now. We looked so happy, so certain of our future together. I thought we were building something permanent, something real. I thought I'd found my person, the one who would stick around through the messy parts and the boring parts and the beautiful parts of life. But love, I've learned, doesn't always follow the script we write for it. Sometimes it just ends, not with a dramatic fight or a betrayal, but with a slow fade, a growing distance that neither person knows how to bridge. Arya said she needed to figure herself out, needed to explore what she wanted from life. What she didn't say, but what I heard in the silence between her words, was that what she wanted didn't include me. The wine is making me maudlin, so I set the glass aside and try to focus on work. I have 3 logo concepts due tomorrow, a website redesign that's been dragging on for weeks, and a brand identity project that should excite me, but feels like just another task to check off my endless list. Work has become my refuge, the place where I can lose myself in color palettes and typography choices, where success is measured in client satisfaction and completed projects rather than the messy uncertainty of human connection. My laptop screen reflects my face back at me. Tired eyes, hair that needs washing, the kind of pale complexion that comes from spending too much time indoors. When did I become this person? When did I start hiding from life instead of living it? Arya used to tease me about my hermit tendencies, the way I could disappear into my work for hours, emerging only when she physically pulled me away from my desk. "You're going to turn into a vampire," she'd say, opening curtains and insisting we go for walks or meet friends for brunch. Without her gentle pushing, I've retreated entirely into my shell. I order groceries online, work from home, and venture out only for essential errands. My world has shrunk to the size of these four walls, and I've convinced myself that I prefer it this way. No risk of getting hurt again, no complicated emotions to navigate, no one to disappoint when I inevitably fail to be enough. But late at night, when the silence becomes unbearable, I know I'm lying to myself. I miss the messiness of love, the way it turns your life upside down and makes you feel more alive than you thought possible. I miss having someone to share small victories with, someone who cares about the mundane details of my day. I miss feeling like I matter to someone, like my presence in the world makes a difference to at least one other person. The rain starts as I'm finishing my second glass of wine, a gentle pattering against the windows that matches my melancholy mood. I should probably eat something, maybe take a shower, definitely get some sleep. Tomorrow will bring new projects, new deadlines, new ways to fill the hours until I can justify crawling back into bed. It's not much of a life, but it's mine, and for now, it's enough. Or at least, that's what I tell myself as I curl up on the couch with a blanket that still smells faintly of lavender, waiting for sleep to quiet the ache in my chest that has become as familiar as my own heartbeat. The knock at my door came at 7:30 on a Thursday evening, sharp and insistent against the steady drumming of rain on my windows. I'd been curled up on my couch for the past hour, laptop balanced on my knees, pretending to work on a logo design while actually staring at the cursor blinking mockingly in the empty document. The sound made me jump. Nobody knocked anymore. Everyone texted first, asked if it was okay to come over, gave me time to prepare my "I'm totally fine" mask. I padded to the door in my oversized sweater and leggings, the same outfit I'd been wearing for 2 days straight. Through the peephole, I saw a familiar figure hunched against the rain, dark hair plastered to her head, shoulders shaking slightly. "Emily." "Oh my God, you're soaked," I said as I opened the door, stepping back to let her in. She looked smaller than I remembered, more fragile somehow, like she might crumble if I spoke too loudly. "Sorry for just showing up," she said, shaking droplets from her jacket. "I was driving around and found myself in your neighborhood. I know it's been forever since we talked properly." She gave me a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, the kind of smile I'd been perfecting myself lately. "Don't apologize. I'm glad you're here." And I was, surprisingly. The apartment had felt so quiet tonight, the kind of quiet that made me hyper-aware of every small sound, the hum of the refrigerator, the tick of the clock, the absence of another person's breathing. Emily looked around my living room, taking in the scattered takeout containers I hadn't bothered to clean up, the blanket permanently draped over the couch, the stack of books I'd started but never finished. "I can't stay long," she said, checking her phone. "I'm supposed to meet Edward for dinner at 9. But I needed to see a friendly face." I studied her as she spoke. Emily had always been the put-together one in college, the one who had her 5-year plan mapped out before graduation, who sent birthday cards and remembered anniversaries. Now she looked like she'd been running on fumes for weeks. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, and she kept fidgeting with something on her left hand, her wedding ring, I realized, twisting it around her finger in nervous circles. "Wine," I offered, already moving toward the kitchen. "I have that red you used to like." "God, yes. Please." I poured 2 generous glasses, grateful for something to do with my hands. When I returned to the living room, Emily had settled onto my couch, her legs tucked under her in a way that reminded me of our college dorm room conversations. She accepted the wine with a grateful nod and took a long sip. "So," I said, settling beside her, leaving careful space between us, "how are you holding up?" "Really?" Emily's laugh came out hollow and brittle. "You know, everyone keeps asking me that, and I keep saying I'm fine. But I'm not fine, Maya. I'm really not fine." Her voice cracked on the last word, and she pressed her lips together, fighting for control. "The divorce is final next month," she continued, staring into her wine. "Everyone acts like I should be celebrating, like I'm free now or something. But I just feel lost. Like I spent 8 years building this life that never actually fit me, and now I don't know who I'm supposed to be." I wanted to reach out, to touch her arm or squeeze her hand, but something held me back. Instead, I shifted slightly closer, close enough that she'd know I was listening, really listening. "I keep thinking about college," Emily said, her voice growing softer. "Remember how we used to stay up all night talking about everything? About our dreams, our fears, what we wanted our lives to look like. I felt so sure of myself then, so certain about what I wanted. And now? Now I feel like I've been sleepwalking for the past 8 years, going through the motions of what I thought I was supposed to want." She twisted her ring again, and I found myself watching the motion, hypnotized by the nervous energy in her fingers. The rain continued its steady rhythm against the windows, creating a cocoon of intimacy around us. Emily's phone buzzed on the coffee table, and she glanced at it with a frown. "Edward, asking if I'm still coming to dinner." She typed back quickly, then set the phone aside. "I should probably cancel. I'm not great company tonight." "You don't have to perform for me," I said quietly. "You never did." Something shifted in her expression when I said that, a flicker of recognition or maybe relief. She looked at me properly for the first time since she'd arrived, and I felt a strange flutter in my chest at the intensity of her gaze. "That's what I always loved about you," she said. "You never made me feel like I had to be anyone other than who I was, even when I wasn't sure who that was." The word "loved" hung between us, innocent enough in context, but somehow charged with something I couldn't name. I took a sip of wine, using the moment to study Emily's face. She'd always been beautiful, but there was something different now, a vulnerability that made her seem more real, more present than she'd been in years. "I've been thinking about calling you for weeks," she admitted. "Ever since I heard about you and Arya. I'm sorry, by the way. I should have reached out sooner." "It's okay. I wasn't exactly great at keeping in touch either." I paused, then added, "How did you hear?" "Jessica mentioned it when I ran into her at the grocery store. She said you'd been keeping to yourself lately." Emily's eyes searched my face. "Are you okay? Really okay?" The question caught me off guard. Most people asked about the breakup itself, wanted details or reassurance that I was better off without her. But Emily was asking about me, about how I was handling the aftermath. "Some days are better than others," I said honestly. "It's been 3 months, and I keep waiting to feel normal again. But I don't think I remember what normal feels like anymore." Emily nodded, understanding flickering in her eyes. "I know exactly what you mean. Sometimes I wake up and for a split second, I forget everything that's happened. Then reality hits, and I have to remember all over again that my entire life has changed." She reached for her phone again, then seemed to think better of it. "You know what? I'm canceling dinner. Edward will understand." She typed quickly, then tossed the phone onto the coffee table with finality. "I'd rather be here with you. If that's okay." "More than okay," I said, and meant it. For the first time in months, the apartment didn't feel quite so empty. Emily smiled, and this time it reached her eyes. "Good. Because I have a feeling this is going to be a long night, and I could use the company." The takeout containers sat forgotten on the coffee table, their contents growing cold as Maya and Emily lost themselves in conversation. What had started as casual catching up had evolved into something deeper, more vulnerable. Emily had kicked off her heels hours ago and tucked her legs beneath her on the couch, her body language gradually opening as the wine and Maya's gentle presence worked their magic. "I keep thinking about this moment," Emily said, swirling the last drops of wine in her glass. "It was maybe 6 months ago, and David was talking about buying a bigger house, starting a family. All the things I was supposed to want." She paused, her fingers unconsciously twisting the wedding ring that still circled her finger. "And I just felt this panic. Like I was drowning in someone else's life." Maya shifted slightly, angling her body toward Emily. "What did you do?" I smiled and nodded and said all the right things. Emily's laugh was hollow. "I was so good at that. Being the perfect wife, saying what everyone expected to hear." She looked down at her hands. "But that night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering if I'd ever actually chosen any of it, or if I'd just been swept along by what seemed normal." The vulnerability in Emily's voice made Maya's chest tighten. She'd always known Emily to be confident, decisive, the kind of person who knew exactly what she wanted and went after it. Seeing her friend so lost, so uncertain, stirred something protective in Maya that went beyond simple friendship. "I've been there," Maya said softly. "That feeling of living someone else's version of your life. It's suffocating." Emily's eyes met hers, and Maya felt that familiar flutter she'd been trying to ignore all evening. "When did you know?" Emily asked. "About yourself, I mean. About what you really wanted." The question hung between them, loaded with meaning Maya wasn't sure she was ready to unpack. "It wasn't one moment," she said carefully. "More like a gradual awakening. But I remember the first time I felt truly seen by someone, really seen, and thinking, oh, this is what I've been missing." Emily nodded slowly, her gaze never leaving Maya's face. "I've been having these dreams lately," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Not sexual dreams, just dreams where I'm myself. Really myself. And when I wake up, I feel this incredible sense of loss, like I'm mourning something I never had." Maya's heart raced as she recognized the weight of what Emily was sharing. She'd heard variations of this story before, from friends who'd come out later in life, from women who'd spent years in heterosexual relationships before discovering their truth. But hearing it from Emily, seeing the confusion and hope warring in her friend's eyes, felt different. Personal. "That sounds lonely," Maya said, resisting the urge to reach out and touch Emily's hand. "It is." Emily's voice cracked slightly. "I feel like I'm waking up from this long sleep, and I don't recognize the life I built while I was unconscious." She paused, then looked directly at Maya. "Does that make sense?" "Perfect sense," Maya replied, and meant it. She watched as Emily's shoulders relaxed slightly, as if Maya's understanding had lifted some invisible weight. Emily shifted closer on the couch, close enough that Maya could smell her perfume, something light and floral that she'd worn since college. "I've been wanting to call you for weeks," Emily confessed. "Even before I decided to come over tonight. There's something about you that makes me feel safe. Like I can say these things out loud without being judged." Maya's breath caught. "You can always say anything to me, Em." The nickname slipped out naturally, the way it had in college when they'd stayed up late in Maya's dorm room, talking about everything and nothing. But now it felt different, charged with an undercurrent Maya couldn't quite name. Emily's eyes softened at the familiar endearment. "I missed this," she said. "I missed you. I didn't realize how much until I saw you tonight." "I missed you too," Maya admitted, the words carrying more weight than she'd intended. "After Arya left, I kind of retreated from everyone. But sitting here with you, it's the first time in months I've felt like myself." Emily reached out then, her fingers briefly touching Maya's wrist. The contact was electric, sending warmth shooting up Maya's arm. "I'm sorry about Arya," Emily said. "I should have called when I heard. I was just so wrapped up in my own mess." "Don't apologize," Maya said, hyper-aware of Emily's fingers still resting against her skin. "We all deal with things differently." Emily's thumb moved almost imperceptibly against Maya's wrist, a gentle caress that might have been unconscious, but felt intensely deliberate. "How are you dealing with it?" "Really?" Maya considered deflecting, giving the standard response about being fine, about moving on. But Emily's touch, the intimacy of the moment, the way Emily was looking at her with such genuine concern, it all conspired to strip away her usual defenses. "Honestly, I'm not sure I am dealing with it," Maya admitted. "I keep thinking about what went wrong, what I could have done differently. But mostly, I just feel invisible. Like I'm going through the motions of living without actually participating in my own life." Emily's hand moved from Maya's wrist to her forearm, a gesture of comfort that sent shivers through Maya's entire body. "You're not invisible," Emily said firmly. "Not to me." The words hung in the air between them, heavy with implication. Maya felt her pulse quicken as she studied Emily's face, the way her friend's pupils had dilated slightly, the flush creeping up her neck, the unconscious way Emily's lips had parted. "And," Maya said softly, not sure what she was trying to say but needing to fill the charged silence. Emily's grip on her arm tightened slightly. "I know this is probably crazy," she said, her voice shaking slightly, "but being here with you tonight, it's the first time in years I've felt awake." "Really awake?" Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. She could feel the moment balanced on a knife's edge, could sense the unspoken questions hovering between them. Emily was still married, still figuring out who she was, still vulnerable from her divorce. But the way she was looking at Maya, the way her breath had quickened, the way she seemed to be leaning closer without realizing it, it all suggested feelings that went far beyond friendship. "Emily," Maya said again, this time with more intention. "What are you saying?" Emily's eyes searched Maya's face as if looking for permission or understanding. "I'm saying that sitting here with you feels more real than anything I've experienced in my marriage. I'm saying that when you look at me, I feel like the person I'm supposed to be." She paused, her voice dropping to a whisper. "I'm saying I think I've been lying to myself about a lot of things." The confession hung between them like a bridge neither was sure they were ready to cross. Maya felt the weight of the moment, the potential for everything to change with her next words. Emily was offering her something precious and fragile, her trust, her vulnerability, maybe even her heart. "You don't have to figure it all out tonight," Maya said gently, even as her own heart raced with possibility. "But I want you to know that whatever you discover about yourself, whatever you need, I'm here." Emily's eyes filled with tears, but she was smiling. "Thank you," she whispered, "for seeing me, for not making me feel crazy." As if drawn by some invisible force, Emily leaned further into Maya's space, her head coming to rest against Maya's shoulder. Maya's arm came up instinctively, wrapping around Emily's shoulders, pulling her closer. They sat like that in the soft lamplight, Emily's breathing gradually evening out as exhaustion finally claimed her. Maya stared at the ceiling, acutely aware of Emily's weight against her, the trust implicit in her friend's relaxed posture. Something fundamental had shifted between them tonight, something that couldn't be taken back or ignored. As Emily's breathing deepened into sleep, Maya allowed herself to acknowledge what she'd been trying to deny all evening. She was falling for her friend, and from the way Emily had looked at her, the feeling might not be entirely one-sided. The rain had stopped hours ago, but neither of us had noticed. The takeout containers sat forgotten on the coffee table, and Emily's phone had been buzzing intermittently with texts from Edward that she'd been ignoring. We'd somehow migrated closer on the couch, our knees almost touching, and I found myself studying the way the lamplight caught the gold flecks in her brown eyes. "I keep thinking about this dream I had last week," Emily said, her voice barely above a whisper. She was turning her wedding ring around her finger, a nervous habit I'd noticed she'd developed. I was standing in front of a mirror, but the reflection wasn't me. It was someone braver, someone who knew exactly who she was supposed to be. I set down my wine glass, afraid my hands might shake. What did she look like? The woman in the mirror. Emily's laugh was hollow. Free. She looked free. She paused, meeting my eyes. The weird part is, when I woke up, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd seen her before. Like she was someone I used to know, or someone I was supposed to become. The vulnerability in her voice made my chest tighten. I wanted to reach out, to smooth away the worry lines that had appeared between her eyebrows, but I kept my hands clasped in my lap. "Maybe she was showing you something true about yourself." "That's what scares me," Emily admitted. "Because if she was real, then everything I've been doing for the past 5 years has been, what? A lie? A performance?" I shifted slightly, our knees brushing. Emily didn't pull away. "Not a lie. Maybe just not the whole truth." She was quiet for a long moment, and I watched her chest rise and fall with each careful breath. When she spoke again, her voice was so soft I had to lean closer to hear her. "Can I ask you something? Something personal?" My heart started beating faster. "Of course." Emily's eyes searched my face, and I felt exposed under her gaze. "Did you always know? About yourself, I mean. About being gay?" The question hung between us like a bridge I wasn't sure I was ready to cross. But Emily's eyes were so earnest, so desperate for understanding, that I found myself nodding. "Not always," I said carefully. "I mean, I knew I was different, but I didn't have words for it until college. There were signs, though. Looking back, they seem so obvious now." "What kind of signs?" I thought about deflecting, keeping things general, but something in Emily's expression stopped me. She needed honesty, even if it terrified us both. I remember being 12 and having this intense friendship with my neighbor, Sarah. I told everyone she was my best friend, but I would lie awake at night thinking about her smile, about how much I wanted to hold her hand. I convinced myself it was just because I admired her, but I shrugged. It wasn't admiration. It was my first crush. Emily's breathing had become shallow. What happened with Sarah? She moved away that summer. I was devastated in a way that confused everyone, including me. My mom kept saying I'd make new friends, but it wasn't about friendship. I was mourning something I didn't even understand yet. And in college? I smiled, remembering. I met this girl, Jessica, in my art history class. She was everything I thought I wanted to be: confident, outspoken, unapologetically herself. We started spending time together, and one night she kissed me. I paused, watching Emily's face. It was like coming home to myself. Emily's hand had stilled on her ring. Were you scared? Terrified, I admitted. But also relieved. Like I'd been holding my breath my entire life and could finally exhale. Emily was quiet for so long I wondered if I'd said too much. Then she spoke, her voice barely audible. I think I've been holding my breath for years. The admission hung between us, heavy with implication. I wanted to ask what she meant, but I was afraid of pushing too hard, of scaring her back into the safe territory of small talk. Emily. I started, but she shook her head. I need to say this, she said, finally looking at me directly. I need to say it out loud, or I think I might lose my nerve. I nodded, my heart hammering against my ribs. My marriage never felt right, she said, the words tumbling out in a rush. From the beginning, it felt like I was playing a role. Like I was this actress who'd been cast in the wrong part but was too scared to tell the director. She took a shaky breath. I kept thinking it would get easier, that I'd grow into it somehow. But it just got harder. What felt wrong about it? Emily's eyes filled with tears. Everything. The way he touched me, the way he looked at me, the way everyone expected me to be grateful for his attention. I felt like I was disappearing, piece by piece, until I couldn't even remember who I used to be. I reached out instinctively, covering her hand with mine. She didn't pull away. I started having panic attacks, she continued. Not big ones, just these moments where I couldn't breathe, where I felt like I was suffocating. They always happened when we were being intimate. I told myself it was stress, or that I wasn't trying hard enough to be a good wife. Emily, that's not. I know, she said quickly. I know that now. But for years, I thought there was something wrong with me. That I was broken somehow. I squeezed her hand gently. You're not broken. She turned her hand palm up, our fingers intertwining. Being here with you tonight, talking like this, it's the first time in years I've felt like myself. Like I'm not performing or pretending or trying to be someone else. The air between us had become charged, electric. I could feel the weight of what she was saying, the trust she was placing in me. I've been having these thoughts, Emily whispered. About women. About what it might feel like to be with someone who actually sees me. My breath caught. What kind of thoughts? She blushed, but didn't look away. I'll see a woman at the grocery store, or in a coffee shop, and I'll wonder what it would be like to kiss her. To have her look at me the way. She trailed off. The way what? The way you're looking at me right now. The confession hung between us like a live wire. I became hyper-aware of everything. The way her thumb was tracing circles on my palm, the way her pupils had dilated, the way she was leaning slightly toward me. How am I looking at you? I asked, my voice hoarse. Like you see me, she said simply. Like you see all of me, not just the parts that are convenient or comfortable. I felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, knowing that my next words would either pull us both back to safety or send us tumbling into something that would change everything. I do see you, I said finally. I see how brave you are, how you're fighting to find yourself even when it's scary. I see how beautiful you are when you're being honest. Emily's eyes widened. Maya, I see how you light up when you talk about your art, how you get this little crease between your eyebrows when you're thinking hard about something. I see how you've been carrying this weight for so long, and how strong you are for finally setting it down. Tears were streaming down her face now. I'm so scared. Of what? Of this feeling. Of wanting something I never thought I could have. Of hurting people, of disappointing everyone, of being wrong about myself again. I brought our joined hands to my lips, pressing a gentle kiss to her knuckles. What if you're not wrong? What if this is the most right you've ever been? Emily's breath hitched. What if I am? What if I'm just confused or rebounding or… Then we figure it out together, I said. There's no rush, no pressure. Just honesty. She stared at me for a long moment, and I could see the war playing out behind her eyes, fear battling hope, safety wrestling with authenticity. I think, she said slowly, I think I've been in love with the idea of being in love, but never actually in love with a person. Does that make sense? I nodded. Perfect sense. But sitting here with you, I feel something I've never felt before. Like I could fall in love with you, specifically. Not the idea of you, but you. The words hit me like a physical force. I'd been so focused on being supportive, on helping her through her crisis, that I'd been trying to ignore my own growing feelings. But hearing her say it out loud made it impossible to deny. Emily, I said, my voice shaking slightly. I think I'm already falling. She closed her eyes, a tear slipping down her cheek. When she opened them again, there was something different there, a resolution, a quiet bravery. I want to kiss you, she whispered. I've wanted to all night, but I was too scared to admit it. My heart stopped. Are you sure? She nodded, leaning closer. I've never been more sure of anything. The weight of Emily's confession hangs in the air between us, her words echoing in my mind. Asterisk, I want to kiss you, star. My heart pounds so hard I'm certain she can hear it, and for a moment, neither of us moves. The space between us on the couch feels both infinite and non-existent, charged with 3 months of loneliness on my part, and what I'm beginning to understand might be years of suppressed longing on hers. Emily, I whisper, my voice barely audible above the soft hum of the heater. Her name feels different on my lips now, weighted with possibility and terrifying hope. She's still looking at me with those vulnerable eyes, her wedding ring catching the lamplight as her hands tremble slightly in her lap. I know I shouldn't, she says, her voice breaking slightly. I know I'm still technically married, and I know I'm a mess, and I know I don't have the right to ask this of you. Stop. I reach out without thinking, covering her hands with mine. Her skin is warm, and I can feel the slight tremor running through her fingers. You don't have to justify what you're feeling. She looks down at our joined hands, and I watch as a tear slips down her cheek. I've never felt this way about a woman before. I mean, I've wondered, I've had thoughts, but never anything this clear, this strong. And it scares me because it feels more real than anything I've felt in years. My throat tightens with emotion. 3 months ago, I thought I understood heartbreak when Arya left. But sitting here with Emily, watching her discover this part of herself, I realize I'm experiencing something entirely different. This isn't just attraction or even love, it's witnessing someone's awakening, being trusted with their most vulnerable truth. When did you first know? She asks, her thumb unconsciously stroking across my knuckles. About yourself, I mean. I think back to college, to the slow realization that what I felt for women was different from what my friends described feeling for men. It wasn't a lightning bolt moment, I tell her honestly. It was more like coming home to myself. Like I'd been wearing clothes that didn't quite fit, and suddenly I understood why. Emily nods, fresh tears spilling over. That's exactly how I feel right now. Like I'm finally understanding why nothing ever felt quite right before. She pauses, looking up at me with such raw honesty it takes my breath away. The way you look at me, Maya, no one's ever looked at me like that. Like you really see me. I do see you, I whisper, unable to stop myself from reaching up to brush away her tears. I see how brave you are, how you're fighting to figure out who you really are. I see how you light up when you talk about your art, how you scrunch your nose when you're thinking hard about something. I see all of you, Emily. She closes her eyes at my touch, leaning into my palm. I've been having dreams, she admits quietly. Dreams where I'm someone else, someone braver. Someone who doesn't spend her whole life trying to fit into boxes that were never meant for her. She opens her eyes, meeting my gaze. In those dreams, I'm with you. My heart stops. Emily. I know it's crazy. I know I'm probably just projecting because you're the first person who's made me feel safe enough to question everything. But Maya, when I'm with you, I feel like I can breathe for the first time in years. The movie continues playing in the background, but I've completely forgotten it exists. The only thing that matters is the woman sitting beside me, courageously dismantling the walls she's built around herself. "You're not projecting," I tell her, my voice thick with emotion. "What you're feeling, it's real. And it's okay to feel it." She shifts closer to me on the couch, and I can smell her perfume, something light and floral that I've been unconsciously memorizing all evening. I keep thinking about what my life would look like if I was brave enough to be honest about who I am. If I stopped trying to be the person everyone expects me to be. What would it look like? I ask, though I'm afraid to hope for her answer. "It would look like this," she whispers, gesturing between us. "It would look like late nights talking to someone who understands me, someone who doesn't make me feel like I have to perform or pretend. It would look like..." She takes a shaky breath. "It would look like falling in love with my best friend." The words hang between us like a bridge neither of us is sure we're ready to cross. I search her face, looking for any sign of uncertainty, but all I see is determination mixed with fear, the look of someone standing at the edge of a cliff, ready to jump. "Emily," I say carefully, "if we do this, there's no going back. I can't be your experiment or your way of figuring things out. I've been hurt before, and I can't." "You're not an experiment," she interrupts, her voice stronger now. "Maya, you're the most real thing in my life right now. You're the reason I'm finally brave enough to ask myself the questions I've been avoiding for years." She moves even closer, and now I can feel the warmth radiating from her body. I know I'm asking a lot. I know I'm in the middle of a divorce, and I know I'm probably going to mess this up because I have no idea what I'm doing. But I also know that if I don't kiss you right now, I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. My resolve crumbles completely. "Emily, please," she whispers, and the word is both a question and a prayer. "Please let me kiss you." I don't trust my voice, so I answer by cupping her face in my hands. Her skin is soft and slightly damp from tears, and when she closes her eyes, her eyelashes brush against my thumbs. "Are you sure?" I ask, giving her one last chance to change her mind. "I've never been more sure of anything," she breathes. I lean in slowly, giving her time to pull away if she changes her mind. But instead of retreating, she tilts her face up to meet mine, her lips parting slightly in anticipation. When our mouths finally touch, it's gentle at first, a soft, tentative press that sends electricity shooting through my entire body. Emily makes a small sound against my lips, something between a sigh and a sob, and suddenly the kiss deepens. Her hands find their way to my shoulders, fingers gripping the fabric of my sweater as if anchoring herself to this moment. I can taste the wine we shared earlier, can feel the slight tremor in her lips that speaks to how overwhelming this must be for her. When we finally break apart, we're both breathing hard. Emily's eyes are wide with wonder, her lips slightly swollen from our kiss. "Oh," she whispers, touching her mouth with her fingertips. "Oh, Maya. How do you feel?" I ask, searching her face for any sign of regret. "Like I've been sleepwalking my whole life," she says, her voice filled with awe. "Like I just woke up." I pull her closer, and she comes willingly, settling against my chest with her head on my shoulder. "I'm scared," she admits quietly. "I'm scared of how right this feels." "That's okay," I murmur into her hair. "Being scared just means it matters." She tilts her head up to look at me, and I see something new in her expression, a kind of determined peace. "I want to do this right, Maya. I want to end my marriage properly, want to figure out who I am without hurting anyone else in the process. But I also want to explore this, whatever this is between us. We'll take it slow, I promise.